All right, Chelsea fans, we're back with our first pretty much YouTube match preview. That's right. Graham Potter has announced that N'Golo Kante, Cucurella, and Mendy are out. So we got to figure out how Chelsea are going to line up for Palace. All right, so as we look at what is going on around the club, Chelsea haven't played for almost a month. Like, these are the longest 3 weeks that I think we've had. The fact that we had Tuchel let go and Potter hired in 24 hours, and then we played a match and it just all stopped with the Queen's death, and then the second weekend of cancellations due to the Queen's death, and then the international break. It's really just sucked the wind, I think, out of a lot of momentum of the club. And so Graham Potter had his first Premier League press conference today, and is pretty straightforward. I think some of the questions from the journalists are meh. What's your biggest challenge? What are Chelsea's ambitions? They know these answers. I don't know what they're expecting him to come out and say, but yeah, top 4 trophies obviously is what Chelsea wants. What's your biggest challenge? I mean, I don't know, winning, succeeding. It's just, they were kind of like, it seemed like the journalists had obviously come brushing the rust off them as well, because we didn't get anything out of this press conference. So hopefully the fact that we have 9 matches in the month of October means that we're going to get some a lot better questions throughout the month, and we'll learn more. But what we did learn is that we have essentially 3 players out injured. N'Golo Kante, while he's out, he has returned to training, which is great news, obviously. I put a video about it. Chelsea's success on the pitch is directly tied to the amount of minutes N'Golo Kante is playing. Go check it out. Second up is that Cucurella is actually out with a sickness. Hopefully it's nothing major. We don't really know how long, but hopefully he's getting a lot of, medicine and vitamins and getting that kicked out of his system quite quickly, because it is a quick turnaround, as I mentioned earlier. And then lastly, Edouard Mendy is still out. He didn't play over the international break, so no real surprise here. So you can expect Kepa Arrizabalaga to be in goal. So what I want to do is kind of essentially start with, Chelsea's rundown of what happened in this one in the press match, pre-match press conference. Wow, I'm rusty as well. So we've got some injury and illness updates, as you know. Also, Carney Chukwemeka is out as well, so you can add him to the list. Didn't expect him to feature, but there you go. So Palace and Chelsea, Kante, Mendy injury update. They're not available, as we mentioned. The good news is they are progressing well on the rehabilitation plan, but they're not ready to be back. Hopefully a week for N'Golo. That'd be fantastic, right? I think like the Milan Champions League matches is a great time for him to return. Again, Edu thinks he'll maybe be a week or so love to hear that he's close to being back. And then it sounds like Cucurella and Chukwemeka are sick, which is a bit of a bummer because Chukwemeka had some good minutes, good performances for the England youth teams as well. So other than that, here we are. We love to see it. Everybody else is fit. So I'll have to go see how it goes. We're going 23 days since Potter was appointed and wait to the first league game mid-season. That's crazy that he's had to wait 23 days to play his first Premier League match. When we look at Crystal Palace and our opponents, it's nice because they're a local team, right? They're in South London. It's not a huge travel day. Again, it just makes life simpler for Graham Potter and the staff and the players, which I think is great. So if we kind of look at what Palace have done this season, if we scroll back a little bit, they lost 2-0 to Arsenal in the first match of the season. All right. They then drew Liverpool 1-1, which is definitely a surprise result there for everyone watching. Obviously, Liverpool with the red card. You love to see it. Then they go on to beat Villa, who have been struggling this season. They move on to the EFL Cup. No big deal. Then they put up a good fight against Man City, for all intents and purposes, losing 4-2, having really pushed them to kick on is, fantastic. They drew Brentford, which, Brentford's done all right this season, but, I think that's kind of their level, right, is where they're at. Drew with Newcastle, and then they obviously had their United match postponed along with Brighton. So we're up. So they haven't played since September 3rd either, right? So it's kind of nice is that both of these teams should be pretty rusty. The big difference is that obviously Chelsea had a lot more players gone over international break than Patrick Vieira had over at Crystal Palace. So you would think that they've had a lot more time with more of their key players than Chelsea have. So we'll have to see if that's a bit of an issue. Look, Nick Verlaine loves saying post international breaks, you're always going to get a bunch of weird results, especially for the bigger teams whose players did not go out or, went out on international duty. Thankfully, no injuries that are new from that. But there's a lot of weird results just because of travel. They haven't been around the club, things like that. What I think was good for Chelsea is that those players did get minutes, right? We had a lot of players who hadn't played many minutes for Chelsea recently, so it was good for them to get minutes with their international teams. Big excitement that Broja is continuing to get minutes for Albania. So like I said, Palace, they've had some good results, but they're pretty mediocre, right? I don't really see a whole lot of excitement out of them. If you look at the table, they are, 16th place on 6 points, the -2 goal difference, only one win on the season. And again, it was against Villa. So the gap here is good for Chelsea as we kind of look to continue to make sure that we are up in the top four. A win essentially gets us to 5th, assuming the other results go our way, which you want to see. Our goal difference isn't very good at -1, which is something that Graham Potter and team are going to have to turn around. So with that being said, if I have to go ahead and put together a lineup that, I think Graham Potter's going to go with, I don't know. We laughed with Matt Law. If you missed it, we put up an entire episode with Matt Law yesterday. He talks about we don't know what Graham Potter's going to do, right? His formations are very flexible. So, you can't really put too much stock in it, but this is what I went with for my predicted starting lineup. I think that you have Arrizabalaga in goal because Mendy's injured. Cucurella being out, I think that definitely forces Chilwell and Koulibaly to go to the left side. Thiago Silva will play sweeper. He had limited minutes with Brazil, so I think that his stature in the Brazilian national team, he can manage his minutes, which is great to see. I think that Wesley Fofana is going to come in at right back over Azpilicueta, and then you're going to have Reece James at right wing back. Why wouldn't you? He's already shown how much value he has on the right flank. I think in the middle, he's going to go with Kovacic, Jorginho. I potentially would maybe look at Ruben Loftus-Cheek, especially if he was around during Cobham over the break. Maybe Potter got to see something in him, maybe work a little bit extra from a tactics formation standpoint that might give him an edge as both Jorginho and Kovacic were on international duty. But then the attack is where everyone's going to look because we haven't scored a lot of goals this season. I actually have Mason Mount being dropped for this match. I know, stupid, agreed. But he scored, Kai scored. I just think he's gonna play Kai in this situation. Is it harsh that Mason goes out? Yeah, I thought about putting Mason in the midfield. I just don't think we're gonna do that. So super, super controversial, and I get it. But again, this is what I think Graham is gonna do. All right. Havertz on the left, Aubameyang down the middle, Sterling on the right. Sterling is the hot hand. You have to keep playing him. Potter spoke very favorably of Aubameyang today and that he was excited to work with a striker of his level. They tried to draw him into criticizing Aubameyang, but of course he's not going to. Again, bit of a rough performance from the journos today, I felt, with the questions. So if this is the lineup, which I think Chilwell picks itself, Koulibaly picks itself, Silva picks itself, the midfield kind of picks itself, unless Potter wants to do something different with Conor Gallagher or Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Reece James is an automatic starter. The attack is where, honestly, you could throw up 10 names, whatever 3 land face up, you could go with. Nobody is locked in the attack. So then if you look at the subs bench here, there's the starting lineup. But if you go down to the subs who we ended up having to work with here, Mendy is not on the bench, but he's not. It'll obviously be Bettinelli. Mason Mount is on the bench. Azpilicueta is on the bench. Ziyech, Gallagher, Zakaria, who again is a bit of an enigma. What are we getting with him? I don't know. Does anybody know? He is the least known player in the Chelsea squad right now. Pulisic will obviously be on the bench coming off of international duty. Not going to talk about that. Cucurella is out sick. Armando Broja on the bench. Would love to see him continue to get some minutes. Loftus-Cheek on the bench. Trevo on the bench. And N'Golo Kante injured. Obviously, some quotes about Trevo. Maybe, Graham's going to want to see what he's got before they decide what they're going to do in January. But I would say it's a strong bench as well. And that's going to be the biggest differentiator, I think, between Chelsea and Palace, again, is the quality of squads. There's undoubtedly a gulf in class between these two squads, right? Zaha is going to be their big player that's going to, try to cause havoc, that's going to, try to cause issues in attack. Olise's done really well. Esse has had moments, right? Flashes. And then you've got a lot of kind of interesting names. Doucouré, been around. Ayew's been around. Edouard is a backup striker, but he goes in spurts. You have to kind of see what he has, on the day. We'll see what goalkeeper they go with. I'm assuming Guaita will continue to play. And, Nathaniel Klein, Jeffrey Schlupp. These are just names that are kind of MacArthur have been around the league for a long time, but haven't really, done a lot. They put in a shift type thing. Obviously, Vieira loves to play possession style. So, and they like to press. So Chelsea are going to have to counter press them and essentially make sure that they don't have the ability to press us and create poor turnovers in the defensive third. Marc Gucurella, obviously there. He's become, a bit of a player that Chelsea regret letting go, but good that he's kicking on, and hopefully at some point we can bring him back to the team. All in all, I fully expect Chelsea to go out there. These players still have to prove themselves to Graham Potter. We had the one match against Salzburg, which wasn't great. Got the point, which is good, but these players still have a lot to prove to Graham if they can be trusted. So I'm hoping we finally get that new manager bounce that we are owed, because that's how life works in the Premier League. When you sack a manager and you get a new manager, you get a bounce. Tuchel's bounce happened to bounces to the Champions League final. So I'm excited to see what Potter has in this bounce as well, because, it's been a bit of a bang average start to the season. Chelsea need to string together 5, 6, 7 strong results, just, I think, for everybody associated with the club. Plus, we don't want Potter to get off to a rough start. The fans kind of question from the beginning. The sooner we can just get a strong string of performances. You think about when Antonio Conte did that, when he went to the famous switch to the back three at halftime against Arsenal. We just need a catalyst from Graham, and I'm hoping that we get to see that against Palace. Smash them up 3-0 on the road. Could care less. I know we don't score goals, but I think that this is going to be a bit of a breakout performance of the weekend, and I'm excited to see it. So let me know in the comments what your score prediction is, and most importantly, who's starting an attack for you. I really don't think that the other 8 players behind the attackers are that controversial, but if you think I missed someone, let me know as always. Man, I'm doing a live stream tomorrow, live stream before the match around the lineup. So make sure to subscribe, because we're going to have notifications going out about an hour before kickoff. We're going to have some friends stopping by the pod. It's going to be great. A pre-match, little hangout sesh, reacting to lineups and predictions and things like that. But anyways, subscribe to our content. If you want to hang out with more Chelsea fans, link in the description to our Discord. A bunch of amazing Chelsea fans in there chatting every single day. But I'm out. Take care of yourselves. Have fun. Football is back.